Welcome to another episode of the Mona Podcast. Today, the hot topic of spiritual communities and their shadows. When I say shadow, I think many of you know how I mean it. I don't mean it in a judgmental way. I mean it in a very loving way, that shadows are here to be looked at, they are here to be integrated so that they can lead us back to our true light. So everything that I'm saying here is not to blame, it's not to judge, it's not to point fingers, it's here to bring it to the surface so we can transform it. And there are basically three things I would like to look at. The first thing starting with spiritual communities and the spaces, the beliefs that I've been observing. And I would love to start by challenging one main belief, which is the belief that we are all equal. We are all basically the same. And I think when I say that, many of you will feel, no, we are not. We are unique. Yes, and what then becomes difficult for many is the ability to hold the paradox that we are unique and we are all one. And I think what happens in many spaces, in many communities, is the confusion that in order to be all one, in order to all feel connected, we somehow need a feeling of sameness rather than a feeling of uniqueness. It's the feeling that when everyone is unique, we are not connected. And it's the ability to hold the paradox is that because we are all unique, we are all connected. And I really always love to give the example of the puzzle. I think I've done that already in a previous podcast episode, where we can see ourselves as a piece of a bigger puzzle. And every piece of this puzzle is unique in its shape. And it is part of the puzzle in its unique way and part of the whole at the same time. And I think this is really how we can see ourselves as humans as well. We are all unique expressions of this big divine consciousness. And at the same time, we are also that divine consciousness. So now what happens in many spiritual spaces, or in what is often being taught with the sameness thing, is that we try to become this kind of same puzzle piece. And we don't realize that actually leads us more apart than it connects us. Again, think about a puzzle where every piece is the same. It does not fit. And I think that's one of the main, let's say, even issues that happens in these spaces, because we are so much trying to have the same opinions and to have the same worldview and to do the same things, that we actually forget or don't have enough space to truly step into our unique gifts and powers. And that brings me to another topic, which is hierarchy. I would love to offer you a new perspective on hierarchy, not in the absolute sense, so not in the sense of because I have this title, I am better than you and you should listen to me, but in the sense of hierarchy as sacred order, that there is a sacred order within that wider web of existence. And that we can have hierarchy, a sacred hierarchy, that is conscious. So how do I mean that? For example, there are certain people, I believe, that have the gift of being spiritual teachers. There are certain people who have the gift who are here to be artists. Other people are here to lead big companies. I believe we all have our unique talents and gifts, and when we truly step into them, we all have our place. And when I then go to a spiritual teacher who has the gift of bringing spirituality closer to people, then I can acknowledge this person as being superior in that field because that's his place. And at the same time, I can go to a financial guy and look up to him and be like, okay, you're superior in that field. And I acknowledge that and I admire that. And you know what? I don't have to shrink myself because I know my place in this wider web. So I believe we all need to learn to have a differentiated view on topics like hierarchy, uniqueness, equality. Also, when it comes to equality, I do believe we all are equally worth. We all have the equal worth. None of us is more worth or less worth. And I believe that we are not equal. So I hope you understand the difference. Equal worth, but not equal. And that's a good thing. That's the whole point why we are here, to be unique expressions. And that brings me somehow to my second topic that I would like to talk about today, which is that kind of thinking that we have to be the same, if it's conscious or unconscious, also created some kind of everyone doing the same. At least in the spiritual bubble, I see that a lot, that we really follow the steps of the people we learn from. For example, there are a lot of teacher trainings out there, if it's breathwork or yoga or Kundalini work, like whatever it is, there are a lot of teacher trainings, and I see people go from one training to another and then become a teacher themselves. And I don't see much, I don't see much variation. I don't see much creativity, to be honest. I see people following the same path. And I wonder what we are creating here, because aren't all these tools that these spaces give us, which are so powerful, which are here to reconnect us to ourselves and to our unique gifts, aren't they exactly here to reconnect us to our unique gifts? And I'm sure there are certain people, I'm not saying that none of them should follow the same path. Like I totally believe, as I said, there's a sacred order, there's a sacred hierarchy. I do believe some people are truly here to be spiritual teachers, to birth a new method, to hold spaces for people. And I believe there are many people who have other gifts that are way more powerful and that are way more aligned with who they truly are. And I wish to see more and more people really step into their unique gifts and not into their teacher's path. Because again, somehow we are following paths instead of creating our own path with these tools that we've learned. And one of the big shadows that I see here is because we are doing that, there is somehow an overload of offers, an overload of methods, an overload of, yes, but I have the best breathwork technique. No, but I have it. No, but I added this. So there is this need to stick out because somehow you kind of just copied something. So you try, of course, to make it unique. And again, some might really be unique, but I doubt that all of these new methods are so unique. And what happens next is that we start denying where we learned from. And that for me is honestly one of the biggest shadows in a spiritual community, is the denial of our teachers, is the denial of our lineage in a way. Because as soon, especially when we do energetic work, the lineage matters. The ancients already knew that. And when we truly listen to ourselves, I do believe we all feel how important it is when we do such deep work, really soul level work, how important it is to know and to feel who you're learning from and to what lineage that belongs to. And I find that, me as a teacher myself, I find that very sad, because of course I've also experienced that on myself, that I was also being denied as teacher, and I do feel the pain from a teacher point of view. And at the same time, I really sat with this topic, and I also completely understand where it comes from. And ultimately, I feel actually sorry for, or maybe sorry is the wrong word, but I do see that people who deny their own teachers, in the end, deny their own power, because your teacher has been part of where you are right now. He or she has been part of the empowered version that you are right now. So as soon as you deny that, you actually also denied that part of you that you received through that teacher. So energetically, you're actually giving that back to the teacher, because you're not claiming it. Because if you're not claiming your teacher, you're not claiming the power that came through that teaching. So here I would actually like to give you a reframe, and I would like to give you the perspective that the more you honor your roots, including where you learned from, the more you will be energetically able to step into that power that came with the teachings. Yeah, and it's not about having to have, some of my teachers, I don't have the best relationship with them anymore, but that's not a big deal for neither side. And some of my teachers, I still have a very close relationship. But one thing is sure, I never deny any of them, because I know and I acknowledge how important each of them have been on my path. And I believe that the reason why I am where I am today is because of that. Is because I learned that I can grow. Imagine yourself as a tree. I can grow and I can reach to the stars, and I can grow my branches and grow my fruits, and really try to reach the sky and reach the limitless. And at the same time, I understood how important it is to have my roots, because that's what a tree needs, right? It needs roots in order to be able to then reach the sky. So part of the roots is talking about your lineage, talking about your teachers and acknowledging them. My new perspective for you would be to include them, not because it makes you smaller, but because it actually makes you bigger. And that brings me actually to my last topic of today, which is what I believe the future future spiritual communities need is the ability to hold these paradoxes that I've been looking at, the ability to feel that we are all one and connected, and we can express our uniqueness at the same time. The ability to create peace and hold the paradox of people who decide to make war. The ability to acknowledge our teachers and become a teacher ourselves, if this is something that we feel aspired to. The ability to honor your roots and grow into a completely new version of yourself every day. The ability to acknowledge sacred hierarchy and understand that this is not about absolute hierarchy. The ability to understand we are all equally worth, but we are not equal. And ultimately, the ability to face the dark and face shadows and stay within our own light. So I hope this episode helped to at least give a few new perspectives on things. Everything I say here is not to create followers in a sense of this is my opinion, you should have the same. Everything is here for you to reflect, to see how it resonates, and to create your own way of thinking, to discover your own truth by taking my words as somehow a vibrational anchor that where you can feel into, these words resonate, these words don't resonate. And through this, you learn how to discern. You learn to, okay, that's mine, okay, this is not mine. And this discernment creates your inner truth. And this is what I believe we are all here for. We are here to express ourselves, our truths. So we help people to find their own truths, not to take ours, but to find their own. And I hope this episode contributed to you and finding a bit more of your truth.